Well, hey everybody, my name is Kent. I'm lead pastor here at Epic. Everybody at all of our locations in and around the city, do me a favor, put your hands together, help me welcome everybody who's with us today, yeah? Love you guys, Roxborough, Fairmount, Center City, KOP, Parkside. So glad you guys are at church today. It's going to be a great day. All right, so we are in this series called Uncomplicated. And for the last few weeks, we've been talking about some advice that the Apostle Paul actually gave to a group of followers of Jesus in his day that I think could really make a difference and help uncomplicate some of the complexities that we find in our lives today. And so here's the advice that Paul gave to this group of people. Here's what he said. He says, be very careful then how you live, not as unwise, but as wise. Be very careful then how you live, not as unwise, but as wise. In other words, Paul says this. He says, hey, listen, this is really important. You might need to write this down. Are you ready? Got made sure everybody was ready. And then here's what he said. Don't be dumb. That's exactly what he said. Don't be dumb. He says, hey, as you navigate your way through life, there's going to be all kinds of opportunities for you to be dumb. So don't do that. Don't be dumb. It reminds me of one of my favorite scenes from The Office. It's where Michael Scott and Dwight are having a conversation. And Michael Scott says to Dwight, he says, what's the most inspiring thing I ever said to you? And Dwight looks back at me and says, don't be an idiot. Changed my life. Michael Scott, and then it cuts to a shot of just Dwight. And Dwight's talking to the camera, and here's what Dwight says. Dwight says, whenever I'm about to make a decision, I ask myself this question, would an idiot do that? And if they would, I do not do that thing. And I was like, that is brilliant. That is such good advice. Would an idiot do that? I do not do that thing. That is fantastic advice. Now, what we don't realize is that the Apostle Paul actually said it first. Be very careful then how you live, not as unwise, but as wise. In other words, don't be an idiot. It'll change your life. And so for the past few weeks, we've taken this advice that Paul gives to this group of people, and we've actually turned it into a question that we can use as a filter to run all of our decisions through. Come on, let's all say this together. We've said it for the last few weeks. Come on, everybody together. What's the wise thing for me to do? What's the wise thing for me to do? And the reason why we're taking several weeks to talk about this one question is because this is a question that we want you to ask for the rest of your life. Because here's the thing, like we've said in this series, life is complicated, isn't it? It just is. Life is complicated. And no doubt you want to get it right, like we all do. We want to get it right. And we really do believe that you can. And I just think that learning to ask this question as a filter for your decisions, man, it'll go a long ways toward doing that. This question, I'm telling you, it has the potential to save you time, save you money, save you years, and probably even save you some tears. In fact, there's a longer version of this question that provides even more clarity for those moments where you're not exactly sure what you should do. And so we're going to look at that longer version. Here it is. It's this. In light of my past experiences, current circumstances, and future hopes and dreams, what's the wise thing for me to do? So in light of my past experiences, in light of what happened last time, what's the wise thing this time? And in light of what happened last time when I ran up my credit card bill, what's the wise thing this time? In light of what happened last time when I didn't ask for help soon enough, what's the wise thing to do this time? Current circumstances. In light of the fact that my current circumstances are that I just got married, then what's the wise thing for me to do? That I just got a new job, or I just moved to a new city, or I just got out of a relationship. What's the wise thing for me to do? Future hopes and dreams. Like in light of what I hope to be true in the future, what's the wise thing for me to do? In light of the story that I hope to be able to tell one day, what's the wise thing for me to do? In light of the story that I want to be able to tell about the kind of relationship I have with my kids, then what's the wise thing for me to do now? The story I want to tell one day. What's the wise thing to do now? In light of the story that I want to be able to tell about the kind of relationship that I have with my spouse, then what's the wise thing for me to do right now? In light of my past experiences, current circumstances, and future hopes and dreams, what's the wise thing for me to do? Isn't this so clarifying? Like before, it's like, I don't really know what I should do. Should I go that, this? But this makes it so clear. Like all of a sudden, it's like the clouds part, and it's like, oh, I can see clearly now, you know? Like I know what I need to do? You see, this is such a better question than is it right or is it wrong? This is such a better question than is it legal? Is it legal in this state? You know what I'm talking about. This is such a better question than can I get away with it? Or is it going to hurt somebody? This is such a better question than even what Dwight Schrute said, which is, would an idiot do that? Man, that's such a low-level question. This question right here, it raises the bar, doesn't it? It raises the bar on your decisions, and it sets you up to make the best decision possible in every situation. Huge deal. What I love about this question is that you don't even have to be a church person. You don't have to be a church goer, a religious type person. You don't have to know who the Apostle Paul is or believe anything he had to say in order for this question to be helpful for you. Like, all you have to do is just start asking the question. And so even if you're not a follower of Jesus yet, man, I think you should totally give this a try, because I think that this right here has the potential to really be helpful in your life. Now, if you are a follower of Jesus, then you should do more than just give this a try. And here's the reason why. You know, one of the best parts, I think, of following Jesus is discovering that God has a plan for your life. Did you know that? I don't know if anybody's ever told you that. But God has a plan for your life. That means that there are some specific things that God has planned for you to do and to be while you're in this world, while you're on this planet. And it's in discovering and living those things out that you begin to find your purpose. It's in discovering and living those things out that life begins to take on new meaning. It's in discovering and living those things out that you discover what God always planned for you to be and the life that God always planned for you to have. In fact, I think a better way to ask this question we've been talking about for the last few weeks, if you want to really take it to the next level, I think a better way to ask this question is this. In light of the fact that God has a plan for my life and I don't want to miss it, then what's the wise thing for me to do? And so if you're a follower of Jesus, listen, this isn't just a good question for you to ask from time to time if you get the chance. No, this is something that you should ask and then act on every day of your life. Because giving yourself to God's plan for you, that really is how you begin to discover your full potential. And so, in light of all those things we just talked about, here's that core question one more time. Let's all of our locations, let's all say this out loud together. Here it is. What's the wise thing for me to do? Good. You ever looked at something and thought to yourself, man, that makes no sense? You know what I'm talking about? You ever look at something and you're like, I don't get it. I'm gonna be honest, I feel that way about a lot of things. I really do. For example, kale. I feel that way about kale. I'm like, that makes no sense. I don't get it. I do not get it. Like, right? It's bitter, it's hairy, and it tastes like bug spray. Right? Isn't that true? Totally true. And listen, and please, the kale lovers, all right, don't send me emails about, all your kale facts. I'm not asking about your kale facts. This is not a cry for help, okay? You need to know that. This is important. And you're like, but it's a superfood. Yeah, it's super gross is what it is. That's what it is. So I don't get kale. Another thing I don't get, cats. I don't get cats. I don't understand. For whatever reason, you can decide. There's lots of them. Just pick one. I don't get cats. Here's another one. Instagram filters. Okay, let's talk. We're about to get so real right now. Look, I don't understand the Instagram filters that people are using that make them look 10 years younger than they actually are. Why? We all know what you look like in real life. Like, you aren't fooling anybody. Why listen, if every time someone sees you in person, they're a little shocked. If like every single time it's like, ooh, they're kind of surprised by what you really look like, that's a problem. Like, I'm just saying, you probably shouldn't use the filter that takes away all of the wrinkles. Like, leave some of the wrinkles in. You can't take off a whole decade. That's a little, throttle that back a little bit. 2-3 years. That's okay. 2-3 years. But not a whole decade, all right? Are we good? Please? I'm just saying. As your pastor, I feel like this is an important thing for us to talk about. So it's getting ridiculous. Some of you think I'm talking right to you, and I want you to know, I am. So chill out with all this Instagram filters. They're a little ridiculous, okay? There's one more thing that I have a hard time getting sometimes, and that's this: smart people doing dumb things. Anybody else? You ever know someone and you're like, man, they're so smart, and that thing that they're choosing to do right now is so dumb. You ever been there? You're like, wow, how can somebody so smart do something so dumb? Like something dumb financially, something dumb relationally, something dumb in their marriage, something dumb in their career. And for the life of you, you just can't figure it out. You're like, how in the world can someone so smart do something that's so dumb? You know exactly what I'm talking about. Here's the kicker about that. I think the reason why we know exactly what I'm talking about is because if we're honest, isn't it true? We've all been that smart person who decided to do that dumb thing, right? Yeah, okay, a couple of us. The rest of you liars. Like, we've all been that smart person who chose to do that dumb thing. We've all spent money that we wish we wouldn't have spent. We've all gotten in relationships we wish we never would have gotten in. We've all done things we wish we never would have done. We've all chased something or someone we wish we never would have chased. We've all made decisions we wish we never would have made. We've all been that smart person who decided to do a dumb thing, every single one of us. And if you look back on what that is for you, or what those are for you, it depends, you know. If you think back to what that might be for you, my guess is this is what comes to mind. You might think this: I should have known. I should have known. Or, I should have seen it coming. Like, I should have seen that coming. It's like, man, that was so foolish. I should have seen that coming. That was dumb. I should have seen it coming. I should have known. Man, that was so bad. I should have known. I should have seen that coming. And here's the thing about these two statements about how I should have known and I should have seen it coming. This is really important for you to know. If you should have known and you should have seen it coming, then chances are that there was someone in your life who did. Chances are. Like, you might not have been able to see it, but odds are there was someone in your life who could and who did. And either you didn't listen to them because they talked to you about it, and you're just like, I don't know what I'm talking about. Or they didn't say anything to you about it, right? In which case, like, our initial response is like, well, they should have said something. They probably didn't say something because they knew you weren't going to listen. You know what I'm saying? Isn't that true? I know that's why some people don't say some things to me sometimes. They're like, he's not going to listen. So what do? They don't call me. They call our mutual friend. And they have a conversation about it. And what's crazy is they both agree. They're all like, yeah. And they both could see what I couldn't see. And they both knew what I didn't know. Isn't that crazy? I think that begs the question, why is it that I can see trouble coming in your life but not in mine? Why is it that I can see trouble coming in your life but not in mine? And why is it that you can see trouble coming in my life but not in yours? What is that about? You ever wonder why that is? Here's part of the reason why. I think it's because our emotions and our appetites, they create blind spots, don't they? Our emotions and our appetites, they create all kinds of blind spots for us. Our emotions make our decisions so much more difficult than they really have to be. This is why you can fix everybody else's relational problems in like 4 sentences. Like, they start tell me, like, you sat in on the counseling and you heard what was going on, you'd be like, all right, that's enough. You need to stop that. And you need to start this. Done. Right? And it's over. It's just, it's way more simple. What is that about? This is why you can solve everybody's relational problems in 4 sentences, but then your relational problems have gone on for years and years and years. What's that about? You see, whenever it comes to somebody else's relational problems, you're not affected by their emotions associated with those problems. And so because of that, you don't have any blind spots. And you can see clearly what needs to happen and what doesn't need to happen. It's so much easier when you don't have all this emotion wrapped up in it. Isn't that true? But when it comes to your relational problems, it's like it never comes to an end because you get so caught up in your feelings, caught up in insecurity or fear or anger or jealousy or guilt or shame or pride or bitterness. You just can't figure out how to resolve that thing. It's like you don't have a clue how to move forward because there's so much emotion involved. Our emotions make our decisions so much more difficult than they really have to be. Now, our appetites, they do the same thing. Our appetites make our decisions way more difficult than they really have to be. An appetite is this: it's a desire for more. That's what an appetite is, right? And here's what you need to know about appetites. They are never fully and finally satisfied. Our appetites are never fully and finally satisfied. Like, it doesn't matter how much you ate last night, you're going to get hungry today. It's going to happen, right? Because it's an appetite, and it's never fully and finally satisfied. Doesn't matter how good Thanksgiving was, right? The next day after Thanksgiving, you're standing in front of that fridge. What else we got? Because it's an appetite. It's never fully and finally satisfied. You never pushed away from a table and you're like, that's it. Because it's an appetite. It's never fully and finally satisfied. And so our appetites, our desire for more, whether that be food or sex or any other appetite that we have, it has the potential to drive us in some really unhealthy ways. This is the reason why you would do better managing my food for me than I do managing my food for me. You would do better at that. You know why? Because you're not affected by my appetite. But I am, which is a problem. You ever really wanted to be in shape, but really want tacos? It's a conflict of interest, people. You know what I'm saying? That's a thing. Why is it hard? Because I'm affected by my appetite. And if you were in control of it, you wouldn't be affected. You'd be able to do a much better job. I can manage your money for you better than you can manage your money for you. Because I'm not gonna impulse buy anything for you. You're gonna be like, can I use some of my money to go? No. No, you can't. You got, in light of your future hopes and dreams, no, you can't. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm not affected by the appetites. Yeah. You know why sometimes smart people do dumb things? Because we're so blinded by our emotions. And we're so blinded by our appetites. And so here's the question. Now that you know that your emotions and your appetites have the potential to sabotage your success, what's the wise thing for you to do? Like, now that you know that, what's the wise thing for you to do? Here it is, one word. Listen. Listen. Why is that? It's because you might not be able to see trouble coming for you, but odds are there's some people in your life, there's someone in your life who can. So listen. You know what wise people recognize? Wise people recognize, man, I am way too emotional right now. I need to stop and ask for some advice for some other people. Am I too amped about this? Yes, you are. Simmer down. You know what I'm saying? Wise people recognize, man, I am way too lonely right now. And based on what's happened in the past, I should probably stop and talk to somebody and stop swiping. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah? So important. I want to show you something from 1 Kings chapter 4. We're going to look at 3 different verses, 29, 31, and 34. And in 1 Kings chapter 4, we actually read about the wisest man who ever lived other than Jesus. He was a king. His name was Solomon. And even though he was the richest and most powerful person alive in his day, he wasn't known primarily for being the richest and most powerful person alive in his day. Solomon was known for his wisdom. Solomon was known because he was the wisest man who ever lived other than Jesus. And so here's what it says in 1 Kings. It says, God gave Solomon wisdom and a very great insight and a breadth of understanding as measureless as the sand on the seashore. And his fame spread to all the surrounding nations. From all nations, people came to listen to Solomon's wisdom, sent by all the kings of the world who had heard of his wisdom. And so Solomon was actually given the gift of wisdom from God. Like as a young boy, he was given the gift of wisdom. Some people have the gift to be able to sing. Some people have a gift to be able to teach. He was given the gift of wisdom, which is like, that's not even fair. Like, that's a really good one. If you're going to pick one, that's a great one to pick. So he got the gift of wisdom. And here's the thing. He was so wise, he became famous for being wise. And he was so famous for being wise that kings from other nations all around would, whenever they had some type of big decision that they needed to make and wanted to know what they should do, they would send somebody to Solomon with some gold and silver, and that person would stand in line for days sometimes, for months sometimes, weeks, just to be able to give it a little time with wise Solomon. Now here's the good news for us. You and I, we don't have to stand in line. We don't have to get in line and wait, because he wrote a bunch of this stuff down. It's Solomon who wrote the book of Ecclesiastes, where he talks about the meaning of life. It's Solomon who wrote the Song of Solomon, which is a book all about sex. And what's interesting is that these young Jewish boys, they had to be a certain age before they were even allowed to read it. But I bet some of them kept a copy under their mattress. They're like, ooh, look what I got, chapter 1. It was Solomon who wrote the book of Proverbs. Someone just snorted so loud here at Parkside. Woo! Heard it all the way in King of Prussia, didn't you? You heard that snort. Solomon wrote the book of Proverbs, which is a book of wisdom. And what I love about the book of Proverbs is it's just so rich. It's full of all these different one-liners from Solomon. It's just gold. And what's interesting is that in the book of Proverbs, you look at what Solomon said about this particular topic, what we're talking about today. And what's crazy is that the wisest man who ever lived, the man who never ever needed to get advice from other people, wrote more and said more about seeking counsel than any other ancient writer. Isn't that crazy? Like the man who needed counsel the least spoke and wrote about it the most. Why is that? It's because the wisest man who ever lived other than Jesus knew that there are going to be some situations in our lives that we aren't going to see coming, but somebody in our life will. And if you and I will be wise enough to give them a seat at the table, if we would be wise enough to invite them in on the conversation, and if we'd listen to what they had to say, you and I could gain the clarity that we need to make the decision that ultimately we'll be so glad that we made. No blind spots. I want to show you a few of these one-liners in Proverbs. Proverbs 9, verse 9, he says, instruct the wise and they will be wiser still. In other words, he says, hey, listen, you can't be too full of wisdom. Like, there's always room for you to become wiser. Proverbs 15:22, plans fail for lack of counsel, but with many advisors they succeed. He says, hey, anybody out there making some plans? Anybody making plans? Anybody at all making some plans? Well, if you don't want those plans to fail, then you should get a lot of other voices in on what you're planning. And maybe you push back and be like, I don't need other voices. I got this. Solomon would say in Proverbs 12:15, the way of a fool is right in his own eyes, but a wise man is he who listens to counsel. He's like, okay, fool. Let me know how that works out for you. I'll see you on the backside of this. Proverbs 19, verse 20. Listen to advice and accept discipline. In other words, accept correction. Man, when wise, trusted people in your life say, I don't know if I would do that. When wise, trusted people in your life say, I don't know if I'd go there. I don't know if I'd call her. I don't know if I'd post that. I don't know if I'd quit that job. I don't know if I'd start that job. When wise, trusted people in your life say stuff like that, you stop and you listen. And then here's the promise. If you'll do that, it says, and at the end, you will be counted among the wise. What? He says, you want to be wise? Then listen to the wise people around you and adjust accordingly. And here's what will happen. Other people will think that you're wise, even though you know you are not that smart. You know what I'm saying? Proverbs 1, verse 5. A wise man will hear an increase in learning, and a man of understanding will acquire wise counsel. That word acquire, it means to seek out. It means to go find it, go get it, to pay for it if you have to. It said a wise person will acquire wise counsel. Now listen, if I look back over the last, 20 years of my life, if there's anything I've done halfway right, I've done this right. Over the years, I've worked hard to acquire, to seek out, to find some people in my life, and I've been so fortunate to have such incredible, wise, brilliant, smart, caring, love God with all their heart kind of people, and always willing to point me in a better direction. So grateful that I've had that opportunity. Now, I just wanted to share a few of them with you. Here's one. This is Bill Crispin. Bill Crispin is in his 80s. This is him. We every Wednesday for an hour and a half, we FaceTime each other. And that's him. That's me in the corner. Can you see me right up there? And we hang out. And he's in a lot of ways, he's like a spiritual dad to me. And he's got so much wisdom. He's lived it, done it, been there. I'm like, oh, just tell me. Here's why. You gain wisdom two ways: personal experience or the experience of others, right? I can walk into a wall and I can go, ooh, wall hard, nose soft. Or I can watch somebody else walk into that wall and be like, ooh, wall hard, nose soft, no pain. Crispin's been through some stuff that I don't want to have to go through to learn those lessons. You know what I'm saying? He's walked some roads. You know what I'm saying? I said, Crispin, you got 50 plus years of ministry experience that I don't have 50 years to learn. So what you got? I love that God is giving me the opportunity to be able to spend time with him. Here's another one. Tim Grosjean. I love Tim. Tim's a business guy. And I don't know a ton about business, but he does. And he's taught me a ton about leadership. And so Tim, we get together for lunch every 8 weeks or so, and he'll say, he'll say, Kent, listen, there's a balcony and basement to everything. And he taught me that. There's the upside and downside to everything. He's the one who taught me, hey, you can delegate authority, but you can't delegate responsibility. Ultimately, you're responsible, right? And he challenges me, and he's always for me. He's like, who's taking care of you? You okay? You doing well? He's praying for me. And one of the things I love most, every time we meet for lunch, he pays. Every time! It's like, yes. It's awesome. When we go someplace cheap, I'm like, I'll pay this time. You know? Love that. Here's another one. This is Jeannie Mayo, in her 70s. This young lady right here, she's a youth pastor, still, over 1,000 kids in her youth ministry. It's crazy. She's the one who taught me that it's important that you believe more for other people than they believe for themselves. You know how she taught me that? She did it for me when I was 24. I desperately needed someone to speak life into me. And she did that for me. Here's another one. Marissa Gwen. For 5 years, Marissa was my executive assistant. And here's how we said it. We said, 2 people, 1 job. And so all the time when I would process something and we'd talk through it, and I'd be like, I'm thinking this, what do you think? She'd be like, that's dumb. You should not do that. You should. And just like, she was so helpful. And listen, having a council of people, having some people in your life that are going to always point you in a better direction, they don't always have to be older than you. They just have to know some stuff you don't know. You can learn from everybody. I'm so thankful for Marissa and just the influence that she's had on me over the past little bit. Here's another one. This is Say T. I love Say. Say coaches me up when it comes to the gym. And so Say took me to the gym one time, and then I'd like work out on the machine, and he'd sit on the same machine and just like add 100 pounds, which is humiliating. It's like, really, man? Last time we went and we worked out together, he showed me some core exercises. I don't have a core. I discovered that. I was like, I don't have one of those. Love that guy. Here's another one. It's my wife, Tiffany. That's our baby, Gabe. Look at him, little side eye right there. Attitude, that one. My wife, she's so sweet. She's so patient. She's so kind. Sometimes she'll look at me and she can tell I'm just not, and she's like, hey, you need to go sleep. That's her way of saying, you're being a jerk. And she just knows, I need to go get some sleep. You know what I'm saying? You gotta have people in your life that care enough about you to confront you, say the hard thing from time to time. You know what I'm saying? Here's another one. I think I got one more. Do I have one more? Oh, this is Tim Lucas. I pay to go see this guy. Listen, it's worth it to pay to go learn from some people? Did you know that? And so I pay to go see this guy. He's taught me so much about strategy, processes. So thankful for that. So thankful for the influence that he's had in my life. Good friends. So grateful. Here's my question. Like, who are your people? Like, here's what I know. Here's what I know. It takes a we to see what me can't see. Isn't that true? It takes a we to see what me can't see. Why, you know why I've worked so hard to create a we? You know why I've worked so hard to connect with people and set up coffees and say, can we meet again and follow up and, hey, it's your birthday, so I'm going to send you a card. And you know why I work so hard to do that? Because I don't want to get to the end of another season of my life and look back and say, what was I thinking? How could I have been so foolish? How in the world? I didn't see it coming. I should have known. No, I want to have a group of people around me that can see what I can't see and who are wise enough and loving enough to say something about it. I need that. You need that. It takes a we to see what me can't see. Someone else can see what you can't see. And so here's the $1 million question. Are you going to benefit from that or not? There's someone in your life who can see your blind spots. Are you going to benefit from that or not? Are you going to have that conversation and say, will you say the hard things to me sometimes? Or you just kind of leave it to, I think they know that. Just leave it to chance. Oh, foolish. Right? You have some people who have some rights to challenge you sometimes. Think about this. When you think about your greatest regrets, how different would your life be if you would have had these kind of people in your life that were willing to share some wisdom with you on the front side of that decision? How different, think about your family. How different would your father's life be if he would have had some people in his life that would have encouraged him when he needed to be encouraged, challenged him when he needed to be challenged? How differently would he have parented you if he would have had that? Or your mother? How different would things be for you when you were a teenager, if you would have just had some people in your corner? Right? We have that opportunity, but we have to go seek it. We have to go get it. Who are your people? Who are your people? And who in your life do you trust the most to warn you about potential regret? Who is that? I was talking to someone this past week, and he told me he's this guy in his 40s, and he leads a group of teenagers. They get together every week, and they talk about something, and pretty cool. And he said this week he got a text from one of the guys, 16-year-old guy, and here's what the text said. I want to read it to you. It said this: my girlfriend's parents are away this weekend, and she wants me to come over late to watch a movie. I'm trying to decide if I should go. I want you to hear how this guy responded. He said, I think that's a great idea if you want to be a dad. That's what he said. Here's my real question. That 16-year-old boy, is he foolish or is he wise? Is he foolish or is he wise? My girlfriend wants me to come over late, watch a movie. Her parents aren't there. I'm trying to decide if I'm going to go or not. Is he foolish or is he wise? I think he's wiser than many of us. Why? Because he's just willing to ask for advice. You know what I'm saying? And I know we push back. I know we're like, I'm grown. You still dumb. I'm grown. I'm still dumb. You know what I'm saying? We've all got blind spots. Sometimes we push back and we say, you know the reason why I don't invite people into a circle like that, the reason why I don't ask for advice, the reason why I don't put myself out there like that or put my stuff out there like that, you know the reason why I don't do that is because I already know what they're going to say and I don't want to hear it. Well, Solomon has a word for that. Fool. He does. So there's that. The wisest man who ever lived looks at that and goes, okay. Here's another thing. Sometimes we push back and we say, well, you know the reason why I don't do that, I don't move in that direction, because it's just nobody's business. It's personal. But here's, you know this. It's a private decision. You know this. Private decisions have public consequences. Isn't that true? Like every public embarrassment, everything that blew up, it all started as a personal decision. It all started as a private choice. It's true. Or here's the third one. We push back and we say, no. I don't need anybody telling me what to do. Well, that's just pride. Right? And pride leads to destruction. You know, the good news about following Jesus is that he's so incredibly patient. And he's willing to be there on the other side of some destruction. He's willing to pick us up and say, all right, are you ready to trust me this time? We got this. Life is complicated. You want to get it right. I believe you can. What's the wise thing for you to do? You know what I'm saying? So who are your people? Who do you have? Who have you cultivated over time? Right? Are they wiser than you? Or is it your cousin Pookie? You know what I'm saying? Listen, we're so passionate about this. We think it's so important. It's so critical to your growth as a follower of Jesus. It's so critical, just the health of your life, to have some people in your corner that are just willing to point you in a better direction sometimes when you need it, when you got a blind spot, that we built a whole system around this. Did you know that? We call them groups. There's two types of groups. There's growth groups and there's activity groups. And activity groups are cool. People get together. There's groups of people that do like boot camp together. There's groups of people that get together and run. I don't understand any of those people. But they do it, and they love it, and they're all about it. And listen, activity groups are awesome. You build relationships, and that's a great place to start. That's awesome. But I want to push you a little bit further, too. Man, in addition to, like, hanging out, don't you want to grow? Like, don't you want to move into everything that God has planned for you? Don't you want to grow spiritually? Because listen, spiritual growth, it doesn't just make your life better. It makes you better at life. It really does. Man, I want that for you. As a pastor, selfishly, I want that for you. And you're not going to get there on your own. You cannot get there on your own. You've got to have a group of people. Guys, come on, fellas. You got to have some other men in your life. There's something about doing life together, sharing each other's stories. Something about hearing someone else's story that encourages your own, right? Something about sharing what God's doing in you that it's just the most amazing thing. And so we've created this thing called groups, and you can do this to all of our locations. Everybody could grab their phone right now. You can go to epic.church/groups. You see the list. There's groups that meet all around the city, groups of 10, 15, 20 people in different homes, a bunch of groups up, KOP, all around. You can't afford not to be in a group. You just can't. And so I want to encourage you to take that step. And maybe there's something that's like, no, I did a group one time. They didn't work out so well. That's like saying, hey, I got a haircut one time and it didn't work out so well. I don't do haircuts. You know what I'm saying? You need to find your people. Listen, your decision to connect in a group could be the most significant choice that you make this year. Hands down. Hands down. Don't leave that undone. I want you to reach your full potential. I want to get there together. Yeah? You with me? Good. Let me pray for you. God, I thank you for every person here. I pray you give us the wisdom to know what to do with what we heard and the courage to do it. In Jesus' name, amen. God bless you guys.